My 2010 Range Rover HSE is finally on the home stretch, but it wasn't exactly the smoothest journey getting here.
All right, we're still on cylinder 4 for a misfire, and you can see they're misfiring a lot.
And I ran into a snag on the right side, and that is that we stripped out one of the bolt holes. The problem I'm having is the timing mark is not aligned where it's supposed to be, so that means this variator is no good. Now this Range Rover has fought me every step of the way to get here, which is why I so aptly named this project Project Roadblock. Now, did I know what I was getting into rebuilding a Range Rover? Somewhat, but I've really wanted a Range Rover for a long time. And along the journey of this project, some people were throwing some serious shade. But that only motivated me that much more, and today we have a great running Range Rover. We just have some things to button up, like putting the front axles back in, doing a transmission pan and filter conversion, putting good oil in this engine now that we know it runs and runs well, bleed the cooling system a little bit better, restore the headlights, and a few odds and ends after that. But along the way and while we're working on this, I'm gonna get real with you with this project and let you know the challenges we faced and whether I would do this again or not. So I'm gonna shut up now and we're gonna button this Rover back up. So yeah, I picked this up for $2,000 back in June, and I have spent well over that now. Literally every step of the way, this thing has fought me. From our very first engine, we got through LKQ not being any good, to axles, to transmission pan. Everything has just been a challenge. But we do have a good running engine now. So some of the issues with the Rover you've seen already, and some you haven't. You haven't seen what I'm doing right now, and that's when I went to put the axle back in, the boot split, and all the grease dumped out on the floor. So I had to order 2 new CV axles for the front. And that's what we're doing right now. We're cleaning up the hubs so the splines can go in, put the axle back in, and call it a day. Hopefully the new axles go in here just fine. They are a tight fit inside this hub. It's stupid. According to Land Rover, they press those things in. Why? Why do we need to press them in? They're splines. They lock together. We don't need to press them. They have to do everything differently on this for some reason. Anyway, let's jump to the transmission. The transmission had a slow leak. I wanted to change the fluid. The transmission filter is part of the pan. It's incorporated into the pan, which I don't get. So I ordered a new pan and filter and fluid, put the fluid in, put everything back together, got it up to temperature, got the level correct, and it was just dumping transmission fluid right out of the left side of the pan. So the new pan that I got was no good and I have to return it. I've since gone to Atlantic British and I've gotten a conversion kit, which I'll link down below, that actually separates the filter from the pan and gives you a metal pan instead of plastic and a full gasket instead of just an O-ring. So that should take care of our problem with the transmission. Then let's move up to the hood. Land Rover put not 1, but 2 hood latches up here, when everybody else just does 1. Why? I don't know. But the problem I had was we put the hood back on, this side latched just fine, that side latched just fine, but when I went to release it, I tried everything. I tried pulling the cable manually, and what I found was, because you could barely just see the latch on the back, it was pulled all the way over, but it still wouldn't release for some reason. So in an effort to try to make more room to see the latch, I had to break the grille off because the top bolts for the grille are under the hood. And that didn't get me anything anyway, so I broke my grille for no reason. But I have a replacement on the way, and it's all black, which is nice because I kind of want a black and white theme on this car. But anyway, I thought my only option was going to be, I was going to have to cut the hood pin. And the only way I'd be able to get in there to cut it would be to bend a Sawzall blade into a half moon and try to squeeze it in there just because there was no room. Well, after having a lot of challenges that day, I gave up, came the next morning with a fresh head. I put a pry bar under there and just lightly pried up, and that didn't really work. So I gave it a little bit more force, and all of a sudden the hood just popped up, and it's been open since. And I'm afraid to close it now. But I do have 2 used good condition hood latches on the way with cables, and I'll be replacing them as well. So yeah, when I say this thing's been fighting me every step of the way, I'm not joking. It really has. And when I got the engine running, I had another issue. And that was that it wouldn't start up on its own. I had to use starting fluid, but once I did, it would run on its own. But the fan was running full bore. So I put my scan tool on and I started looking at the coolant temperature sensors, and lo and behold, there are 2 of them. One of them was showing ambient temperature inside the garage. The second one was showing 302 degrees. Well, there's no way we were 302 degrees. We'd be melting this engine down. So I started digging a little bit deeper, I looked at our connector on the back, I looked at the wiring schematics for this vehicle, and my wire colors were wrong. And I dug on and off for a few days until I finally found what the culprit was. There's a sensor on the back of the intake, which I'm assuming is an intake air temperature sensor. And it has the same exact connector on it. And it's literally a few inches away from the temperature sensor. Same color connector, same type of connector, same two wires, different wire colors though. Now why would we put two similar connectors to two very different things so close together? We couldn't have used a different connector for that intake air temperature sensor? Guess not. Anyway, I swapped those harnesses and I still had 302 degrees. I took an old temperature sensor that I had on the bench, plugged it into the harness, and it went down to ambient temperature. So that told me that my temperature sensor in the water tube in the back was no good as well. And it was brand new. It's from Dorman. But look, I don't want to get into who's better than who, but Dorman's stuff is junk. You heard it here. You may disagree. That's fine. But the general consensus is Dorman's stuff is junk, and I agree. Thankfully, I had that old temperature sensor. I took the bad sensor out of that water neck, and I put my old sensor in. And we've been great ever since. It starts right up, the fan goes down like it's supposed to, and it runs well. But anyway, I'm gonna get these axles back together. So right now I'm giving the Rover the rusted nut cocktail, and that's changing all the fluids on it. I already did the transmission. I need to do the engine again and put good oil in it, which would be AMSOIL, of course. And oh, by the way, I'm an AMSOIL dealer. If you want to save money on the best oil out there, hit my AMSOIL link in the description, become one of my preferred customers, and save up to 15% off of AMSOIL products. Right now I'm changing the front differential oil, which is 7590 gear oil, and that gear oil smell. You know what I'm talking about. Now I need to loosen the fill plug. This out of the way, this out of the way, this out of the way. Did I ever tell you how smart AMSOIL is? Making these squeeze packs so you can get up into tight spots, just squeeze the fluid out, no mess, just squeeze it out, get into tight places, not end up with fluid everywhere like you used to with these. Really smart AMSOIL. I know this is going to be a little bit hard to believe, but I actually hit another snag.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
Yep, I sure did. And this snag only cost me $400. But in reality, it was my own fault, and I caused it, not the Rover this time. As I was putting the passenger side CV axle in, I had to pull the strut back to give me enough clearance to get the axle in. Well, apparently I pulled a little bit too much, and you can see we don't have air in here anymore. And one of these things is not like the other. So apparently I pulled a little bit too hard and blew the seals for the bag. And it's why we have this new one from Arnott. Seems to be a pretty good unit, I'll give it that. A nice hefty bag on here. Everything looks good, even have their logo on it. So we're gonna have to replace that. And also we have new shoes in the back of the truck that I'm taking to Mavis to get mounted and balanced. At a bargain price of $49 a piece, plus $3 to get rid of the old tires. What a bargain. All right, the first thing we need to do to replace this strut is mark where our nut is so we can put this back in the right spot. And the reason being, the strut is adjustable, and that's how you adjust your camber. And though we still need to get in alignment, we at least need to get it as close as it was before so we can drive around and not have too many problems. Okay, for the time being, we're just going to loosen up these nuts on the strut just to get it to dangle a little bit, but not fall. All right, we need to take our ABS sensor wiring out of this bracket. All right, now with those undone out of the bracket and out of the way, we can now do our upper sway bar link. Okay, that's out and out of the way. Now we need to do our knuckle bolts. There we go. Now we should be able to take this out. We're just going to rest this here while we put the air line in. Oh, I can't do it. We'll be back after these messages. Do you ever hop in your car, turn on the stereo, and it sounds like you're listening to elevator music in a bathroom stall at Chicago O'Hare International Airport? Then you may suffer from a well-known condition called SSD. But with this new breakthrough treatment from my friends at Andaman, you'll no longer be the laughingstock on Friday nights. Inside the box, you'll find everything you need to install this amplifier subwoofer combination, with exception of a few ring terminals. Disconnect the negative battery cable and mount the subwoofer in a location of your choosing.
Next, take your ground cable and strip the insulation back, and apply solder to tin the end of the wires for a good solid connection to the amplifier. Route your ground cable in its final location, and clip a ring terminal onto the other end of the cable. Then attach the ring terminal to the final grounding location. Next, connect the ground cable to the amplifier. Moving on to the power cable, find a location close to the battery where you can route the cable into the car. Then strip the battery end of the insulation back and clip a ring terminal onto the power cable. Make sure every connection you make is tight. Finally, connect your ring terminal to the positive battery cable. Moving inside the vehicle, remove your stereo from its mounting location. Access your right and left audio outputs and connect your composite cables to the proper locations. Then connect your amplifier remote turn-on wire to another circuit that has power when the accessory is switched on. Now for a clean look, route all of your cabling behind trim panels inside the vehicle. Complete all of your connections at the amplifier, ensuring that each connection is tight. Now that light ring around the sub can be controlled by this remote control here or an app on your phone. And you can actually make it dance to the music. You can customize all sorts of colors, make it brighter or dimmer, and so forth. Now, if you'd also like your car or truck to hit hard, pick up the Eneman 1000-watt amplifier subwoofer combo by clicking on the QR link on your screen or clicking on the link in the description. And use coupon code ANDEM15 for an additional 15% off the list price. You won't be disappointed as this thing puts out some good bass. Once again proving that big things can come in small packages. Now that we got all the frequencies sorted out on the IS300, let's get back to the pain in the Range Rover. And there you have it, the front air strut is installed and holding air. Now we got to move on to those hood latches here in the front and get those replaced because they're holding up other things. And I have to take the front bumper off because I got to put the headlights back in. Apparently you got to take the bumper off to put headlights in. Okay. That out of there. Now we can get our latches out. Put this with the spare parts we could use, never. These look a lot nicer than my other ones, so these should work pretty good. Let's hope. See how we line up. Seem to be pretty good. Only thing left now is to go for it. Let's see if our hood pops. Ah, look at that. We're popped up on both sides. Perfect. Looking good. Now we're going to take this bumper back off so we can get our headlights in. Just look at these beautiful headlights, would you? Ah, they're a work of art. We're going to fit the last piece to our front end here, which will be the grille, the new grille. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful.
Beautiful.
I do have the emblem coming. Wow. So nice. Look, she's complete. For the first time in a long time. For the first time in a few years, this Range Rover's heading out onto the road. Still have a couple things to button up, just minor little things, but I gotta take it for a drive. I gotta see how it drives. And best of all, you get to come with me. Here we go, first drive. And so far, not so good. I got a flashing check engine light. It's running rough. Not quite sure what's going on here. So we're gonna go back. Transmission shifting well, that's good. Airbag lights on. I was getting a cylinder 7 contribution code for fuel injector. That fuel injector could have just pooped out completely. Not sure. Stability control not available, a bunch of things like that. Here's a familiar sight with the scan tool. Still have a fan high circuit. Cylinder 7 misfire. ABS, oh, we got a steering angle sensor issue. ABS control module issue. Looks like steering angle sensor's having an issue. Headlamp, steering angle, ABS. So we have some things. Let's clear our codes and see what comes back. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit defeated at the moment. The cylinder 7 misfire creeping up. I have a steering angle sensor issue now, and that plays into the supplemental restraint system, which is airbags, seatbelts, things like that. It's also messing with the air suspension, traction control, etc.
But wait, there's more.
And as an added bonus, the upper radiator hose is leaking at the radiator. None of this spells the end of this story or the project, but I do have a bit of anxiety about that cylinder 7 misfire, and that's because the old engine was doing the same thing except on cylinder 4. So we're going to part ways for now, and in the next video, we'll dig into that cylinder 7 misfire, the coolant leak, the steering angle sensor, and any other issue that creeps up as they always do. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.